I'm Bruce Fummey, and I'm digging into stuff that we should know about the history of Scottish towns. As I grew up as a kid playing rugby, this town dominated the imagination. But recently, I've discovered a whole lot more about Hawick. So if you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen. And if you enjoy this video, then give it a thumbs up, share it, and watch the next one. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. Since the frost retreated and our prehistoric ancestors travelled north, different waves of DNA, languages and religious beliefs have followed to make this town and the borders a very special part of Scotland. A 5,000-year-old stone hand axe found in the local river is Hawick Museum's earliest sign of humans. But lots of different peoples followed the man who held that axe. Some would erect stone circles, others would build Iron Age hill forts. Brythonic Celts called Selgovi contested, while others called Votadini collaborated with Romans who sought to divide and rule. Hawick grew up on the borderlands of those two tribes. Later waves of people make border place names more diverse than other parts of Scotland. Brythonic Celtic, Kelso, Goidelic Celtic, Innerleithen, Germanic, Anglian, Berwick and Scandinavian Selkirk, all coined before the arrival of the Normans. They tell me Hawick is the Anglo-Saxon name for hedged or hawthorn farm. But they built a few things around that farm since 7th century Anglo-Saxon Northumbria. The Church of St Mary was one of the earliest buildings in the town of Hawick. Now, I'm not talking about the Johnny-come-lately 1763 clock tower that's still part of the building today. Even before this kirk's 13th century predecessor, St Cuthbert, had a church along the Citric water nearby. A medieval chronicler tells us of a miracle in that church, founded when Cuthbert died in 697 AD. Two devout women, Sigifa and Rosfritha, came from Hawick to Cuthbert's church on the banks of the Sitrith. And when the altar candle faltered, another miraculously took its place, which diffused all round its beaming rays. These 7th century Anglo-Saxon women were the first Hawick women ever mentioned. Playing pranks in the church with those trick birthday candles. What are Hawick lassies like? Sigifa and Rosfritha were the first Terrys. We call Hawick folk Terrys. The first Hawick building that's left a mark is along the road at the Motte Bailey Castle built by Norman arrivals. The bailey on top of it is long gone, but the motte is what was left by one of those early Norman castles used to exert control. In previous videos, I've explained how David I and his dad transformed Scotland, bringing the border south so that this was part of the kingdom, and then establishing boroughs and abbeys and castles and Norman knights to fill them. Let me tell you about the local Norman knight. Back in Brittany, Aislinn Lord Breheville had a wild reputation. Apparently, he asked his feudal lord and superior, William de Breteuil, for his daughter's hand in marriage. That's ballsy. Now, his feudal overlord thought Aislinn unsuitable for his daughter, and Aislinn went mental. In the bitter depths of winter, Aislinn had Lord William stripped and tied to a grating at the top of a castle tower. He poured water over him and watched the ice form. Turned out that William thought Aislinn was good enough for his daughter, and he would provide a big dowry in gold to boot. For this and other reasons, Aislinn became known as the Young Wolf. Lupulus is the Latin, I believe, which Normanised to his surname, Lovell. Now, Aislin's dad had sailed with William the Bastard in 1066 and got lands down south. David I brought the young wolf's son here to Hawick, where that Lovell built this motte and bailey. The text of the 1120 Charter confirming lands to Selkirk give you a sense of the cultural and ethnic melange that David was trying to pull together. It said, David the Earl, son of Malcolm, King of Scots, gives greetings to all of his friends, French, English and Scots. It was a melting pot. Now, the Lovells may have been loyal to David, but 200 years later, when the borders were being torched and raided during the Scottish Wars of Independence, they chose the wrong king. Robert the Bruce expelled the Lovells from Hawick. At the Battle of Bannockburn, as the English were relentlessly driven back, stabbed, crushed and drowned in a deadly scrummage, under the mayhem, one of the dead was Sir John Lovell. The lands here would fall to the Douglases, and I want to take you into Hawick Heritage Hub that stores the Hawick archive to show you something special. In this job, I get to do the coolest things, and this is one of them. This fragile document's the oldest document in this archive. It's the Hawick Town Charter of 1537, sealed by Sir James Douglas, the 7th Baron of Hawick. How cool is that? Now, this charter states that it's a reaffirmation of an earlier charter given by Sir James's father, Sir William Douglas, which had been lost in times past through hostile invasions of Englishmen and robbers. You see, in 1511, Sir William Douglas chartered Hawick as a free borough of barony. Now, if you watch previous videos, then you'll know that boroughs were set up to encourage trade. You got royal boroughs, ecclesiastical boroughs, and boroughs of barony, established by the local baron. The rules were different, but the purpose was always to encourage local trade through regular markets or fairs, and whoever set them up got to skim a few quid off the top. Now, even before Sir William, there must have been some sort of borough here in Hawick, because in 1433, a guy's mentioned as a burgess of the town. Simon Routledge is the first man ever to be mentioned as living in Hawick. Anyway, Sir William Douglas clarified local rights and privileges in his charter. In another charter, he also gave the borough a block of land to be held as common ground. Now, there are stories about neighbouring groups and English raiders, whether royally appointed or freelancers, encroaching on this common land. Protecting the rights and security of the community's property was so important that burgesses were required under penalty to take part in an annual show of force that confirmed the bounds of the common lands. One 17th century record sets out the penalties for burgesses who didn't turn up on Common Riding Day. Whatsoever person that be's not present yearly at the common riding and setting the fairs shall pay 40 shillings. Have you ever been at a common riding? Let me know in the comments section. And if you've been to more than one, which was the best? Common ridings are a seminal cultural event at Hawick and many other border towns. But this 16th century memorial in St Mary's Churchyard, erected to John Deans, who died in one of those clashes protecting common property, shows how these festivals are rooted in the entirely practical and sometimes violent protection required of citizens. Just a couple of years after Sir William had confirmed Hawick's borough status in common grazing, he was dead. I'm not going to go into the detail of the Battle of Flodden. I made a video about it and I'll leave a link at the end. But it was the worst military disaster in Scottish history. Devastation in the borders was even more severe than it was further north. It didn't just bring the death of thousands of men from the lowliest subject to the king himself. It also brought invasion, and the clatter of lawlessness in the border rose to a crescendo. The year after Flodden, Lord Dacre, who'd commanded the English horsemen, gleefully wrote south, saying there was never so much mischief, robbery, spoiling and vengeance in Scotland as there is now, without hope of remedy, which I pray our Lord God continue. And it did. Who would protect border towns? With so many men in their prime lost at Flodden, the town was at the mercy of the English. Local lore tells us that one group of Dacre's English raiders had gathered stolen livestock at Hornshole, 2 miles east of Hawick. The only defenders available were the youth, the callants of the town. So these teenage boys got together with makeshift preparations, gathered at night and ambushed the English, who turned and fled, leaving the young lads to capture their flag. It's that flag that's carried by the young callant in this statue and symbolically carried by the lead rider at Hawick's common riding each year, celebrating the feats of young men riding to protect the property and people of Hawick. This was the time of the Reavers, the high water mark for cross-border raiding. Edinburgh and London weren't entirely sure how to deal with the Reavers. They were a nuisance, yes, but sometimes a convenience. In one crackdown, Mary Queen of Scots' half-brother, the Earl of Murray, came in force and swooped on Hawick one market day. 40 Reavers were surrounded. As a crowd gathered on the riverbank here, some were hauled out and taken down to the river, hands tied behind their backs, and they were dragged to the pools below us. One by one, as our comrades looked on from the banks, government forces plunged the Reavers' heads into the water, their arms and legs flailing in struggle, till they struggled no more. The rest were taken for trial in Edinburgh. Oh, whilst I'm passing, I should mention this is the heart of Hawick. I'm going to be back here on the 29th of August. I'm almost finished the tour of my stand-up show, Scotland Made the World. There are still shows in Kirkcaldy, Edinburgh and Stirling. And here, at the heart of Hawick, on the 29th of August. Get your tickets by clicking top right or in the description below, or go to www.brucefummey.co.uk. Now in August, I want to make you laugh and learn about Scottish history. But right now, what I want to show you is this. The Reaving period was a time for stout walls to protect you. And that's when the Douglases built Drumlanrig's tower. You can see the original shape that's typical of border townhouses of the time. 3 stories and a garret, a vaulted basement in the main block, and a great hall on the first floor. There are examples at Smale Home in Gilnockie of this kind of tower. In fact, I've made videos at both of those and I'll put them in the border playlist at the end. This tower played a key role in 2 events in Hawick's rich history. In 1570, Regent Murray, the guy who drowned the Reavers down at the river, remember him? He was the first head of state ever to be assassinated by gunshot, because Scots invented everything. I'll put the video that I made about that in the playlist at the end as well. It was during the Civil War in Scotland when Mary Queen of Scots was imprisoned in England. Edinburgh was in chaos and the Reavers had a field day, riding south, lifting cattle. Well, Elizabeth of England was beeling. If the Scottish monarchy wouldn't control the borders, then she would. 5,000 English troops crossed the border, came west past Kelso and burned one tower, then another. They met up with English borderers in a pincer, and when the two armies combined, they headed for Hawick. But as the English approached, their scouts saw billowing smoke, and as they got nearer, it seemed like the town was ablaze. It was. Set alight by the people of Hawick themselves. See, if you're an invading army destroying a town or a village by fire, the best target is the thatched roof. The stone exterior or the wood and wattle walls, they're much harder to fire. But knowing the English army was coming, Hawick townsfolk took the thatch off their roofs and burned it in the street. Well, checkmate. Mate. They piled their movable goods into the tower here, or they took what they could as they fled to the hills with all the food. The English had to make do with what they could pillage from gardens. And the tower survived intact. Whilst it's been expanded, extended and worked on since, the core remains Hawick's oldest building. It also survived the next century when Presbyterian Covenanters were making a stand against Charles II. In 1679, around 120 of them laid siege to the tower. As the besiegers sung Pink Floyd songs, a local schoolmaster was wounded. The Covenanters did most treasonably besiege the tower and castle of Hawick, and by storm and violence did take the same, carried away with them all the goods and arms of many country gentlemen who transported them thither for safety and custody. In the storming and taking of which castle, several of His Majesty's subjects who were therein were dangerously hurt and wounded. The leader of the Covenanters involved was Thomas Turnbull of Standhill. Now, there were a lot of Turnbulls around here, but that's a story for a video short that I'll put up later. The building is now... we should probably go inside. Baillie John Hardy was head bummer of Hawick Town Council and a successful local merchant. In the 18th century, the Board of Trustees for Manufacture was set up in Scotland. Its job was to improve the fishing industry and wool and linen production. Because who doesn't like a well-dressed fish? In 1771, Baillie Hardy headed off to the big city to ask the board for a loan. He wanted to buy stocking frames. No, I had no idea either. Apparently, they were a kind of knitting machine to make woolen stockings. Hawick folks had knitted socks and gloves at home-based cottage industries for ages, but Hardy had seen early industrial knitting machines in the west of Scotland and thought stocking frames could take hosiery in Hawick to a higher level. Well, he got the loan. Today, 37 High Street's a barber shop, but if you look up, you'll see a plaque commemorating the place where Hawick was transformed. It's where John Hardy got a blacksmith to set up these new stocking frames. Now, stockings then weren't the sultry, sexy things that you think of today, you filthy wee tyke. The fashion was for men to wear knee-length breeches and stockings underneath. Think Blackadder III. Baillie took in orders and knitters worked on the orders at their convenience whilst paying him rent to use the equipment. 9 years later, John Hardy was able to retire. That's when his business partner John Nixon took the machines to cross-wind and the business to another level. Instead of waiting for bespoke orders, he started manufacturing stockings to sell on a speculative basis. And that speculation led to accumulation. Hawick would never be the same again. We're in the money, we're in the money. The Borders textile tower house here traces the transformation. Water-powered mills and workshops sprang up all along the River Teviot and Slitterick Water. By 1800, 3,000 people in Hawick were working in textiles, stockings, blankets, carpets. This was southern Scotland's fastest growing town. By 1850, more than 11,000 people lived here. Folk were coming in from elsewhere in the Borders, wider Scotland, across the border and the Irish Sea. Census data for 1841 showed that 25% of the town were recent immigrants, and many had come north from Yorkshire and Nottinghamshire. Their forefathers had come reaving, and now they came weaving. Well, knitting, but. Another cross-border story was a Scotsman called John Locke. Living in London, he went into his Regent Street tailor with cloth sent down from one of the Hawick mills. So impressed was the tailor that he asked for more twill. Locke got a new supply, but through Freudian slip, misspelling, or just damn good marketing, he used the word tweed instead of tweel. That celebrated river of the Scottish Borders gave a new name to a particular type of cloth that we all now know as tweed. But Hawick didn't just invent tweed, it also invented the twin set. And I was going to tell you how Hawick invented Y-fronts, but we have to be brief. Hawick mills also attracted royalty. In the 1820s, the Grand Old Duke of York had his underpants made in Hawick. And when they were up, they were up. And when they were down, they were down. And when they were only halfway up, Moon River, wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday. The population of the town rocketed to nearly 20,000 by the turn of the 20th century. Now, the early 20th century saw Hawick dominate in three areas that's probably known for most. The woolen trade, I've already mentioned. Rugby goes without saying. And common riding, where Hawick folks ride the boundaries to guard their lands, as they've done since the days of John Deans. Of course, these days, it's more pageant than protection. But the cornet still carries the flag that represents that day in 1514 when young Callants of Hawick stepped into the shoes of the men who died at Flodden, saw off English raiders and brought back their standard. 400 years later, on Thursday the 4th of June 1914, statue was unveiled by Lady Sybil Scott to commemorate those events, celebrated in each year's common riding, where they sing the town song Teribus y Terioden that gives the people of Hawick their name, Terries. Hawick is recognised for the self-reliance, ingenuity, toughness and unique spirit of its people. But you'd have to concede that its people have changed hugely over the centuries, from Selgovi to Angles, Vikings, Gaels, Normans, and more recently, folks from across our islands meant Hawick grew to the industrial powerhouse of the Borders in the 20th century. When I asked Google what's the most important town in the Scottish Borders, it told me Galashiels as an administrative, educational and commercial hub, while Melrose and Jedburgh hold the region's greatest historical and cultural significance. But Hawick is the Borders' industrial heavyweight. The biggest town in the Borders, its significance lies in its proud industrial heritage, particularly as a historic capital of Scotland's cashmere and knitwear industry. I think Hawick folks would have something to say about Hawick's historical and cultural contribution as well. Tell me in the comment section why you like Hawick. I've added a playlist of the other videos that I mentioned in this one. It's coming up on screen now. The best way to help this channel and to keep the videos coming is to hype this video, share it and watch the next one. In the meantime, I'm Andorchas Gumbi Lamali. Sherry Andrasta.